doing. So let's give everybody some time to cycle in. There's at least one person watching. Hello. So this is Detective Line Explained with David. You guys are in the right place. Hopefully we're in the right place. We're the ones likely to. um, hey everybody, we're just gonna give a couple minutes here for everyone to cycle in after they just got some drink, got a snack. Day 2 of PortalCon. We're about halfway through the program. Thanks so much for watching, for being with us. Luke from Portal Games US. That's David from Portal Games US as well. David will be here watching the chat, watching your guys' questions. As far as spoilers, no, I'm going to keep this spoiler free. So you do not have to worry about that. David is also going to not know a lot about the early on history and the explain detective, so he'll maybe have some questions of his own. I do want to make sure, can you guys hear David? David, you want to go say hi to everyone?
Hello, everyone. Hi to Sam for 3PA.
So can you guys hear him coming in through without any issue? And then looks like the numbers are creeping up, so about another 2 minutes. Both of us are very low volume. All right, so I'm going to try to change that on my end a little bit. Boost that up a little bit.
Hey, the volume on my volume.
At least there's volume. So let me just make some quick changes here. David, what is your experience with the Detective Line?
My experience with the Detective Line has been, honestly, I volunteering for Portal the year Detective came out, so we were demoing Detective, not demoing so much because the demoing was really hard to do, but we were explaining Detective and telling people about Detective, answering a lot of questions. So I was there from the start of Detective, but the game was already out, was already published, was already released whenever I started volunteering with Portal Games. So my experience has been, now my personal experience with the game itself has been pretty limited. I've only played a few cases, but I'm gonna trick my wife into diving into Dig Deeper with me, or not Dig Deeper, but into season 1 with me, and then from there that'll be our gateway into the rest of the Detective series. So I also don't want any spoilers because I haven't experienced very many cases.
Yep. Perfect. So guys, hopefully you heard David's audio changing a little bit while I was managing those settings. I've moved my mic back. We're not going to spend too much time playing with this. If there's anything particularly bad and off, you can just let us know in the chat and we'll try to work on it. David's over at his brother's house. Paul, you've seen him on the street already, so we can call Paul in for some emergency tech support if necessary. But I've got a lot of stuff to go over with here. There's a lot to talk about with Detective. So I definitely want to get right into it. Real quick, just starting off, guys, if you can give us some thumbs up, share, like, retweet, do all the social media promoting stuff. We appreciate that. It's coming into second day, so we're winding down, but we definitely still want to have as many of you guys knowing what we're doing for the show. So, perfect. So let's get right into it. So I've got an overhead cam here to show off the gear, and as you can tell, there is a lot of stuff here. So we're gonna go a little bit over everything. No spoilers, but we're definitely gonna touch base on it. On top of that, I'm gonna have pictures from my own personal experience. That's because the story of Detective, in a way, is also a mirror of my story with Portal Games. It's my beginning. It was the very first project I worked on. It is the project that basically got me into the company in a more professional way. And hello Dubai.
Yeah.
David's in Dallas. I'm in Florida. So sounds like I'm
from all over.
So they
all
say
of the time.
something's off with my mic. It might be because my papers are close by, so I'm gonna back off just a little bit, and hopefully that doesn't drive you guys crazy. So, so as far as the detective line, if you guys can drop into the comments, please. If you're, how many of you are not familiar with the line? So if you're not familiar with any of the games, or you haven't played any of the games, drop it into the comments or into the chat right there, saying nope or none or just no, just so that we can kind of see how many people already know about it and how many people don't. I want to make sure I guide this discussion in a way that's productive to what you guys know. But basically, we've got the detective base game, and you got Suburbia slash K6. Hasn't played anything. Okay, cool. All Dig Deeper last week. Perfect. Ooh, stay off with the spoilers because I haven't played Dig Deeper yet, and we'll get to why that is later. But haven't played. Okay, good. So, okay, cool. So I'm gonna be able to make it interesting for all of you guys. So if I'm seeing a lot of you that don't have any experience with detective, so we will go a little bit deeper dive on this. So we got the base game, which is 5 cases. We've got Suburbia, we've got which is case 6, which then we have LA Crimes, we have Natural Causes for a little bit. It was available to be played, and then it morphed into, it got added into season 1. We have the Signature Series, Vienna Connection, a lot of stuff to talk about. So, what's the chat saying there? I'm seeing it change up a little bit, David.
Yeah, somebody is saying happy UK. They missed today's PortalCon. They've been celebrating their daughter's birthday, so happy birthday to your daughter. They finally got to go to the local pub, which is open after lockdown, and then we just have some people saying they played Suburbia and Natural Causes. Some people say they never played, so we've got all levels of experience in this chat.
That's awesome. And you guys fire away with your questions. David will kind of keep an eye on the questions for us. But besides that, let's dive into it. Don't mind if I'm looking down once in a while. That's just me looking at my notes. I want to make sure I cover everything and give you guys all the information I've got. So,
this will be on YouTube later, so if you have to dial out for a little bit, you can catch us later on YouTube.
Absolutely, Lee. Yep. All right, so the story of Detective starts much earlier than 2018. I'm not going to go into that because that's Designer Diaries, that's Ignaz's inspiration, all his work. He's talked about that a lot. We're going to focus on the things that I know most about. So for me and for all of you, really, the story of Detective starts in February and March of 2018. So we're talking about this bad boy here, Detective, a modern crime board game, the game that started it all, and a weird parallel between myself and Ignaz. I was working on this game a lot late on. Ignaz mentioned this before, but they designed a lot of their games in Polish. So then they went through a translation company, and once this game went out into playtesting to Tony from Board Game Quest and a few other people, the feedback was not great. And at that point, I was already working with Portal to an extent. Ignacio reached out to me with that feedback, and we assembled a team of people, myself, my wife, Chevy, and Vincent from Envoy. So we worked as a team to fix the language. And the translation company translated the language. But for a game like Detective, there's so much native speaking and so much subtle information seeping out from the way people are talking and speaking that it's you can't just have pure grammatical, technically correct translation. And what I mean, and a really good example, and one that was a real facepalm moment, was in the original translation we had an old someone who used to be a gangster, a gentleman in his 60s, 70s, from New Jersey, saying things. I don't know what happened that night. I was hella tipsy. So
That's excellent. You should totally love
I should have left that in there, dripping with theme. Yeah. So those are the things we were working on. We were really fixing the native language, the subtle hints, the language of the technical jargon of the forensics and science, all that kind of stuff. So we were working on that a lot. And my involvement kind of is an opposite to Ignaz's, because this game was Ignacy coming off of First Martians, which that's a whole nother topic. We can talk about that more in another stream when on Twitch when I'm doing my Q&A sessions weekly. That for Ignatz, it was a really difficult time. It was the most controversial release to date. It was a release that wasn't as well received as he said. He just expected a lot from it. But this isn't a conversation about First Martian. But I'm just saying that because Ignatz was coming into this game with hesitation. He was lowering the hype. He was really focusing on making sure that the same thing doesn't happen with First Martians, where with First Martians, towards the end, he was telling people lower the hype. It's just a game. And the hype kept growing. So you can imagine that coming into a game like this, which is a really unique game in and of itself, especially for Portal games, we had very different experiences going on. But this game, at this point, you all know it is it is the darling of Portal games. This game is doing extremely well for us. It is racked in rewards left and right, translations in so many different languages, so many units sold. This game is spectacular. There's nothing else to say about it. But that wasn't the story early on. So let's hop over to another cam, and I'm going to show you this. So this is Luke, terrified, and presenting detective to Eric Martin. And now you might see Eric Martin's face here. He's looking slightly confused. And that's because these are the only components I had at the time. So this is March 2018 at Gamma. So please do something about my microphone. Okay, what's going on with the microphone? If you guys can just elaborate.
I can't tell what's happening with it. For you to log into the stream and listen if you can hear what.
Fane 1989.
To me, I'm just on the Skype call, so it sounds fine. But
I want to make sure you guys are hearing me. So Fane 1989, if you can elaborate, or if you guys can say. Yeah, exactly. Whenever there's language that's a little bit too specific for a purpose, sometimes it's really hard to hit the nail on the head with translations. So what I can do, I'll lower my mic a little bit here, and I'll just wait for some feedback. Oh, they can barely. They can. Okay. They can't really hear.
My microphone. It might be my connection.
Okay. Okay. All right, David. So if you say anything, you're gonna have to just be loud.
I'll just talk loud.
Okay. Sounds good. So it says Dustin is saying it sounds like we can only hear the one on top through the speakers, on the one on the bottom. Okay. So sounds like I've made a couple more settings. Sorry about this, guys. Sounds like I'm coming in okay for a lot of people. David is coming low. And
I'm low, so I'll just talk loud and we'll do our best.
Yeah, and I've made one more setting, so hopefully that's a little bit better. You guys can let me know. So this picture right here that you're seeing is me presenting Detective for the very first time. So perfect, much better. Thank you guys. Appreciate that. Perfect, awesome. So I was presenting Detective to Eric Martin, and he looks confused because I said, well, this is Detective. These are all the components. This is what we have. And I had prototype components, which was like a board that was plastered over. It was the character sheets, and really nothing else. I didn't have much else. I was just there to talk about Detective. My first time being on camera, my first time meeting Eric Martin. I think I saw Rodney somewhere in the distance. I was still starstruck. I was new to the industry. My first time being in the industry from a professional standpoint as opposed to before. So March at Gamma Trade Show was the insider's peak of Detective. And remember, still lowering the hype. It's just a game, right? So let's see what else we got here. This was also, you can kind of see around the edges how it's rounded right here. And that is because this is still a prototype component. So this is me kind of walking around with prototype components. This is April at local Cool Stuff Inc. location. So that was also prototype time, still showing it off a little bit. Okay, I see Dice Review gave me some advice. I'll work on that a little bit as I talk here. So, and then we get into May. So what's going on in this picture is Dice Tower. So Dice Tower was the very first sneak peek that people got to see of Detective. So Dice Tower, we were having, you can see kind of in the back, we had this wall set up and then caution tape going around it, and we have some more pictures that you guys will be able to see. We were allowing people to play Detective Case 6. So that's kind of jumping in, and let me show you guys what we're talking about here. So Detective, the base game, for those of you that don't know, is a campaign game. So it's 5 cases, and they're all linked together, and it's deep and it's immersive, and you take notes, and it's hard. It's extremely engaging, and the more you put into it, the more you get out. I remember I always told people, really dive into it, make it, just set the mood, dim the lights, one overhead spotlight, make some strong coffee, get some pastries, and put noir jazz in the background, ideally over the sound of rainfall, and that just kind of transports you. So it really is about the more you put into it. And we had fans sending us pictures of projector walls where they were blasting the Antares database onto it. We had fans showing us with their giant whiteboards and their mind maps, and that's really what this game is. And people again and again kept coming up to us after, in the future, once the game was released, saying how incredible of an experience this is. So with Detective, you've got...
It's somebody saying they had to bribe Ignacy with cookies to get to play.
Oh,
yeah. Saw it on the last day.
Yeah, and I'll dive into that a little bit more. Absolutely. So Detective is basically 5 cases, and this is what it looks like. And all my case decks are hidden, so there we go. So this is what you see when you dive into Detective. 5 cases, all linked together.
Showing you that, I will explain it. It is much better multiplayer. It's a game that, I mean, you could play it solo, but the interaction is really where the game is. So multiplayer is definitely where it's at with Detective.
The way we say it is, when you play solo, it's a lot of work. The game really does do well when people communicate and talk and express different ideas and different things that are happening. So you can play it solo. Take your time. And the way you play it is completely free. So some people play the case 1, for example, in 2 to 3 hours. Some people play it over the course of a day. So it really is what you make of it. So this is Detective. This is kind of what you have in the game. But what we were doing in the picture that you just saw was Suburbia. And Suburbia, we have it in 2 ways. So we built special demo kits for Suburbia, because these are going out to stores so that they can demo the game. And we also have Detective Case 6 Suburbia available for purchase, because Suburbia is an intro. It is the way you can't demo a game like Detective that's 5 campaign cases and you play case 1, which in the first place is lengthy. You need to focus. If you're at a convention, there's noise, there's chit chat. You can't really have maybe good internet connection. You're not playing with a group of friends. I think not to mention this, sometimes you got to be comfortable playing with the people you're playing with, because you want to say certain things about what you're thinking about the development of the case or people's behaviors. A lot of reasons you don't really want to play Detective in some environments. So this is Suburbia. It's a shorter case, it's simpler, it scratches the surface, because Detective, you're using online resources, you're going on Google, you're going on Google Maps, you're using Wikipedia, you're using the Antares database and matching DNA signatures and fingerprints, and you're looking at MP3 files and video files. It's involved. You are detectives. So that's actually one of the taglines of it. You don't play detectives, you are detectives. So that's what Case 6 is. Case 6 is simpler, and it is available. We have this for sale on our website. It's also for free. So right now, and we have it as a demo for stores, and on Tabletopia it's free, and you can download it from our website. So it is there for you to try it, because Detective isn't for everyone, and we know that. And especially, from everything we've learned from our past releases, we want to make sure, we don't want to sell a copy to everybody that wants it. We want to make sure that the people that buy the game actually know what they're getting in for, because this is a game that you need to know what you're getting in for. And when you know what you're getting in for, and when you say that this is for me, oh boy, is it going to be for you. It's going to be an experience unlike anything else. And I was hearing all that, and I was jealous, which is why we're going to get into why I didn't play Dig Deeper yet. So no spoilers for those of you who have. Anything in the chat that I'm missing, David?
Nothing. Yes, the people saying they're going to watch later in the waiting for the Detective Imperial Settlers edition. So that's what we need. We need to get to the bottom of what those Imperial Settlers are doing.
Yep, absolutely. So that's what's happening in this picture. We're at Dice Tower. You can see me, confused, naive, just kind of really not knowing what's going on, and Ignace looking concerned because we don't really know what to expect just yet. So, Detective, what happens is reviewers start coming in and playing. And this is the polished edition, not Polish, polished, finished edition, cleaned up, better. So reviewers start playing it and they love it. And I remember this night I was, let me see if I'd be able to, yeah, there we go. I was hanging out below in this section somewhere, building a giant whiteboard. So, and you'll see that in some of the other photos here. These are reviewers. You'll notice some of these people here, of course. We had Rolling Dice Taking Names try it, Man vs. Meeple, Jeremy, Marty, Tony, and then this is kind of a sneak peek of what people were doing behind the wall. We had two walls, this whiteboard, which was two sections, one on each side, and people were able to dive into it. They were able to, I'm trying to see, okay, no spoilers on there. So they were able to take notes. We had all the materials for them. And basically what happened is day in, day out, day in, day out, I'm looking at the chat. Hey, that's me. Day in and day out, the word spread. And people kept saying, there's this really interesting thing happening at the Portal Games room. And more people wanted to come in. We originally started with one table, then we went to 2 tables, then we went to 3 tables, then we went to a wait list, and people were giving us their phone numbers trying to get in, and the word spread, and that there was something happening there. You could play detective. It's this incredible experience, and at that point, I think Ignace could take a deep breath because he saw that this is something special. This is a little clip of just the room as it kind of was. And will the video play is the question. It won't play. That's okay. This is the room that we had it. We had a special room at Dice Tower Con. And for the record, because Ignace still doesn't let me live this down, and David, you've heard him say this about when Portal Games missed in 2019 and this is foreshadowing, the award ceremony, and where we missed receiving awards for detective. At Dice Tower, we're the only ones who have a room, and Tom and Jason, they go around to all the publisher booths and they say, hey, you might want to be at the awards ceremony. Hey, you might want to be at the awards ceremony. We were in another room. They forgot to come to us. They didn't tell me. That's why Stephen Bonacore was ending up on stage accepting the award for us. It wasn't because I was playing games or taking a nap. I was working, running demos in the Portal Games room, and we were the only ones with the room, so we weren't in the exhibitor hall. That's my excuse. That's my reasoning. So.
Well, I mean, to hear Ignace tell it, it's a totally different story. But I guess we'll have to decide which one we believe.
Trust me. That's what happened. So, and this picture.
You don't know Luke. He's maybe the most responsible person I've ever met. So, I totally believe you.
Thank you. I got someone vouching for me. And this is a really cool picture. We had all these notes. It doesn't look as impressive as it actually was in person. That's a lot of notes. I know here it's just like, it's piles of paper. That's a lot of notes for all the people that participated that week, that weekend, and played. And so many people couldn't get to play, and we're still sorry about that. But by now, with the case being released for free, I'm pretty sure they managed to get it. All right, that's skipping ahead. We're gonna get there. So.
Said you probably didn't have to do too much encouraging to get Bonacore on the stage.
No.
And they also said it's convenient that you have an alibi. We're talking about detective here.
Yeah.
Alibi.
Yeah, and one of the other cases we'll talk about is called Hidden Alibi. So yeah. This is a playmat that we released for detective. it basically simulates. I know the glare is terrible here, guys. I apologize. But it basically simulates the board here. You've got the time track here, a place for the deck of cards, resolved cases, resolved cards that you can look on front and back side of. So that's kind of what's happening here. So that explains it. And then also we've got another promo that we released roughly at the same time is the character portraits. So we have portraits, Polaroid-like portrait images of all the characters, and people use them in their mind maps where they can, on the back, write notes, and they can put it up and tape it to a whiteboard and do all that stuff just to increase the immersion. So that's what these two items are. That's and that was released in tandem with Detective the base game. So far we've covered Detective the base game, and where are my notes? I want to make sure I don't forget anything, but in each of the cases, it's a game of deduction because there's 35 cards in each of the decks, and you're not going to have enough time to get through everything. So you need to stop and think, and you want to cast a wide net. You don't want to go down a rabbit hole and chase a lead that you think might work out. You need to step back and get a wider picture. So it's definitely an engaging, hard game in that regard. And these things just help add to the immersion. We have these on bundle on the shop. There's still plenty of stock left, so you guys can go check on that. And it does only work for the main game as far as the board goes, but there's nothing stopping you from overlaying the LA Crimes board on this or overlaying the Dig Deeper board on this and using this to still have a place for all your tokens and all of your things like that. So you can always just put an overlay, which is the game board that you get on top of this. So that's something to consider. Anything in the chat that I'm missing out there, David?
Nothing so far. Basically, looks like a nice playmat. Compact, holds everything. Wasn't sure about the size. It's a really nice size playmat. It's really pretty wide and it gives you plenty of space for all your bits and everything.
Absolutely,
it's a very nice playmat.
Absolutely, and these are my pictures. Marketing and Portal Games has been releasing for the past 2 years fantastic photos we've been getting from fans. Much nicer quality and edited. These are just my shots, guys, so these are just pictures I literally dug up from my Google photos from the times. So I'm trying to check my notes to make sure I didn't forget anything. And we really are this is a apt time we're doing this because we're coming on 2 years. So the next picture here that I'll show you guys is pre-Gen Con interview with Twist Gaming. So that was 2 years ago. That was August of 2018, and that's the street date of Detective. So right now we've got 2 years of Detective. So really good time actually we're doing this. So this was before Detective. We knew we had something special. We knew that the feedback we were getting from reviewers was fantastic, and now we're just waiting to see how the fans respond. And I'm trying to see, pitching some ideas.
Yeah, somebody just asked if there was ever any thoughts about maybe co-branding this with like CSI or Law and Order or Criminal Minds or anything like that.
I will say,
because there are no really good games based on those.
Yeah, I mean, we're still, the board game industry is still a little bit too small, I think, to get noticed. Although now that's changing. There are some IPs that are being considered for books, for video games. We actually had Hollywood reach out, some producers reach out about the Detective storyline because that's how good the storyline is, and you basically have a script written right there. We were exploring those options in talks. Nothing really came of that. We're still, we're open, and as the line gets more and more expanded and expansive, we will see what happens. I mean, for me, I think the sky's the limit with Detective. I am so excited about this product line that we have. And I'm so happy that Portal has this, and we have so many fans that are so engaged and really just passionate about this product. So here we have, this is what we were greeted with by one of our fans when we got, our fan, Kevin Manning, when we got to the booth. He must have already started hearing that we got really good feedback on Detective. And it is a giant cookie cake, of course. Ignacy ate all of it. No, that's not true. He did share, so...
Somebody else in chat says the guy next to you looks so small. That's true. Luke is a large man.
No, he was leaning over fixing his microphone. That's what was going on there. So
Luke is also a large man.
Yeah, and I'm also jealous of their setup. When are we going to get stuff like this, David?
This is true.
We need to
set up like that.
We need to buy these cameras and these lights for everybody on the stream, on the Twitch. So maybe we can ask Ignace and tell him we demand it. We need better quality for our fans. So this was the booth at Gen Con. We had a lot of detective, as you can see. A lot of detective. We had this little section in the back here. Can you guys see my browser? That way I don't have to take out Paint, but I think you can see it, right, David? Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
so we had this section back here for demos like we did for Dice Tower, but really quickly on we realized that's not going to really work. So because it was just a little too loud and too chaotic. But a lot of detective. We had an awesome mind map explaining the game, because you can't really demo something like this. So we had to have a way we talk to people. And we had an awesome Gen Con event. Obviously, it is an online component to it because of the Antares database. So we just had our volunteers up here acting as the computers, and people from the table were running and getting the files. So really a lot of stuff was happening here, and this is all still detective. So 5 cases where you're introduced to Antares, the team of investigators. You're starting off and you are basically in Richmond, Virginia, and diving into deep history. So people were also surprised with this game that it's not just about the who killed it, who done it, right? Like who killed this person, what's the, who's the suspect, who's the murderer. It's a much deeper story. It's a lot of history in there, which is why you're using a lot of Wikipedia and a lot of pinpointing locations. So a lot of that, and we were kind of acting as that role, but they were playing case 6, so a little bit easier for us to accommodate. This guy right here, oh man, we had volunteers from Envoy come that were dressed as FBI agents and police officers, so that was fantastic. They were patrolling and making sure everyone was following the rules. You can see here, that's why we have some of these pictures. And I think this video will load. The other one didn't, and no, it won't. And now, oh no, and I think my computer just freaked out on me.
Uh-oh.
Are we still live? Can you see me?
I cannot see you.
Oh no, my screens are flashing black. Oh no, the very worst thing that could have happened. Hold on. Hold.
I think we're back.
Are we? We need to get that screen with the elevator music. David, do elevator music, quick. Okay.
Paul can hear you. He can hear us. The stream is back.
Are we back?
Good.
Are we back?
Yeah.
Whew, that was terrifying. But now I don't think they can see my photos. So.
No, they cannot.
Oh no. Okay.
It did hang for a bit, but your photo is just white.
Okay. All right, guys. We're back. The photos are not working, but in the meantime, David, while I get these back up and running, anything in the chats?
Anything in the chat other than saying that it was back for a moment. The left side of the screen is white, though. Yeah, okay. So this is the spoiler section. No, this is not the spoiler section. It looks like your camera is back there. Not the spoiler section. Luke was just basically talking that the game goes a little bit deeper than a whodunit. But so that's not really a spoiler for the game, other than saying that this game has a very big, overreaching plot line that a lot of things tie together. One of the moments I had with Detective that was just so amazing for me when I sat down to play it for the first time is I was playing Case 6 and just demoing it at BGG-Con, and sitting down and playing it, and they were like, this person got a ticket for this bus line in this city, and like it left the station at this time, and then there's a little icon next to it, a Google icon, and it's like, just Google it and see how long it would have taken them to go from that bus stop to where they were going. And I'm like, wait a second, you mean just like literally Google it in the game, in the real world? Like you just Google this? And so for those of you who know nothing about the detective line, that is the thing that happens. You could just Google some information and find out clues about the case that you're researching. And it's just really fascinating that you have that moment where, technology sort of reaches over into your board game, and it's amazing. So right. It's not really a spoiler to say that, but it definitely goes way beyond just who's the culprit here and who killed who.
Yes, give me a thumbs up. That was a fast resizing there. You guys got to see behind the curtain for a little bit. I don't know what happened. My computer screen just started flashing black. But luckily the stream didn't hang up. So all right, I'm getting too comfortable. We're at 30 minutes in already. So Gen Con, huge success, and of course Ignaz's breathing sigh of relief. I'm still obsessed with this game, and I'm looking at the different rankings. I was obsessively checking these out, and we were starting at 7,000, and we just were seeing this climb lower and lower and lower, and we were just seeing the positive feedback. It was so awesome to see, and let me. Oh, you were over there. Did you see that?
Oh, was I?
Yeah. And now if you check BGG, you will know that Detective is ranked 138 with an 8.0. It's got a fantastic review rating. It's got fantastic support from all of our fans. So, and it's going to keep getting better. So here we fast forward. This is November, and this is David actually right over here. You see him hanging out. This is actually where we first met David. And
oh
yes, and this right here behind this, and behind this stack of Detective is actually where I was working on this. So this is LA Crimes. So LA Crimes is the very first expansion to Detective. We saw the title was doing super well. Ignazi curse activated. Yes, that's exactly what was happening. I felt it. I felt his pain. And so, Detective, modern crime board game, modern tools. You are playing as the investigators from Antares Investigative Agency. LA Crimes, you're going to the 80s. So actually, the Antares database turns into the DOS screen, black and white. So that's super awesome. And we had character portraits for this one as well. You had 3 case decks here. This is the board, as we were talking about. And what else is really cool, I love this. For this game, we had, in the pre-orders, we sent this out as like a little treat for our fans. And I don't even know if you know this, David. The case files were all printed on this old printer paper from an old printer from the 80s.
Very nice.
So the office actually had to go and find one of these printers, and I think that thing was running for 3 weeks straight just to print enough of these case files to have everybody.
Actually printed on a dot matrix printer all the pre-order materials.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's fantastic.
That year at BGG-Con, when I first started volunteering for Portal, I basically got there at the booth and Luke said, hey, I've got a little bit of work to do on this game, on the expansion for this game. So why don't you just meet in the booth, and if you have any questions, let me know. And basically just turned me loose and said, go sell Portal games. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. And he was just nonstop translating and editing and in the back of the booth working 24/7. And I was just standing out of the booth, just like, all right, what do you guys got? I'll answer questions.
Yeah, and here we are now, right? So
here we are now, yeah, absolutely.
LA Crimes is so Ignazi loves 80s. He loves the theme. He loves the timeline. So LA Crimes was inspired by the Eddie Murphy Beverly Hills Cop movies, the cop that's breaking the rules a little bit. So this game has mechanics in it that actually you can take on stress to minimize the time that it takes to do something because you're breaking the rules. So super cool mechanic. We also we had a lot of fun with this one, and I worked heavily on this game so that we avoided all the translation issues from Detective. So let me throw in some more pictures here for you guys. So BGG Con, I was working here, and this is me working, because right after BGG Con, actually, I had my honeymoon with my wife, and we were both working on this. So this is me after a day in New York of museums. I'm editing and working on LA Crimes. So a year later, we're at Dice Tower. We're back in the room. We're doing one table in the back. We're saying that we can't handle demand, and we're not going to have a waiting list. Just if you come, the table's open, you'll play. We kept it simple. We rack in the awards. That was just fantastic. I had my alibi of why I wasn't there to pick it up, so you can all defend me now next time you hear Ignazi yelling at me on stream, so I'm not cowering like this, watching. And this is kind of what we had at the time. This was the collection of Detective, this is kind of everything we just talked about, right? Playmat, the pictures, the Case 6, LA Crimes, and this is Gen Con of 2019. Running the event. Again, we had people tell us that, you know what, Case 6, people already played it last year. You're not going to be able to get a lot of people to play it this time. It's done. And boom, we still had 100 people come. I think it was a sold out event at 100 people still playing because people still didn't know Detective. People were still discovering the game. So that's whole, once a game is a year old, is old news now. Not the case. People are still discovering this game. So that's all I have as far as the pictures go. Now let me just dive in a little bit more about the products. So we've already covered the base game. So that's right here, right? We've already covered the base game. You guys know what Suburbia is. You guys know what the promos are. You guys know what LA Crimes is. Let's talk future. So, clear all that out. Moving on. Signature Series gets announced. Detective takes a lot of work to put together. You have to basically write a book, a novel, and you have to tie up everything, all the loose ends, and then you have to gamify it. And that is a huge amount of work. We have a whole team of designers working on these games. In comes the Signature Series. So the Signature Series, zoom in a little bit, is known designers taking, we'll cover natural causes shortly, Dutch. Dig Deeper is known designers taking the Detective engine and just saying we're going to run with it, and us giving them all the information they need, the game mechanics, all that kind of stuff, giving them support, but this is their story. So Signature Series #1, which is currently on sale, it just released last June 18th, I believe, is Rob Daviau's Dig Deeper, which takes place in the 70s in Boston. It's dripping with theme and more new mechanics here because, again, it's not the modern times anymore. So the Antares database changes again when you click into this, and I had it pulled up on a screen, but when we went to the black flashing screens, I lost it. I don't know, my internet browsers aren't working now, and I don't want to touch it. So you basically have two new features. You can call a librarian to get info because, hey, no Google, or you can call a witness. So those are two things that are new in this, and you can imagine how much work that is for coders because they had to be able to take into account every potential thing that somebody would be typing in to ask these witnesses or ask this librarian. So awesome new feature. Just this con, we announced Signature Series #2, which is Mike Selinker's case and his team, Petty Detectives. Again, there's going to be whole new mechanics, completely new. And the reason I haven't played this yet is because I want to experience that detective moment that all these fans at conventions kept telling me about. So that's why I wasn't involved with this one at all. My roles have changed within the company, as you all know by now. So I'm actually saving this for a special moment when I can have a stress-free night where I can just commit 5 hours to this just to dive in and experience it. So that's what's going on here. Natural Causes, as Dutch Yoda asked, was as a short promotion available to our fans online. Natural Causes, the Antares detectives going to working in Cleveland, and it is. That's Suburbia. Natural Causes, Virginia Commonwealth University, and it's a continuation of the storyline of the Antares detectives. And for a short moment, it was available for free to play online, and then boom, it was added into Season 1. So Season 1 is a change of Detective. Because Detective is so expansive, it takes so much investment, we wanted to have a product that's a bit more mainstream, a little bit lighter. And what happens with Season 1 is we've changed the artwork a little bit. The rulebook is simpler, mechanics are tapered down, and you have 3 standalone cases in the box. Natural Causes, Blood, Ink, and Tears, which is a classic murder mystery taking place in Great Britain, kind of a whodunit. And then you have Solid Alibi, which was this is a case about where Luke was during the Dice Tower presentation. And that is a solid, it's about mafias in Boston, and it's modern day mafia in Boston. So fantastic cases here. These are all using the Antares database, which has been redesigned and rethemed to look almost like a Netflix homepage where you're scrolling down and you can scroll through all the different products and all the different cases. Free cases get posted up there, so we released a free case for LA Crimes, Under the Radar, which is case number 4, which ties up some loose ends left in the, I lost the box somewhere, in the LA Crimes expansion. So definitely check out AntaresDatabase.com. You'll be able to see that new database. Guys, go on Tabletopia, play case 6 Suburbia. We have a fantastic video from Paul, David's brother over here, showing how to play online. And you can play on Tabletopia. You can make your own components and just download all the files. There's so many ways for you to actually try this experience. And when you try it, you will know if you love it or not, and the odds are you will love it. Just go into it with the right expectations and knowing what you're getting into. So that's what season 1 is. It is a bit more mainstream, lower price point. I know we're getting a lot of questions in, David. If you scroll through, let me know if there's anything that I have to get to. Yeah. I'm running short on time. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not as experienced as Ignaz is.
We had someone ask if season 1 is a little easier for solo since it has shorter cases. Once again, you can solo it. It's just you're doing a lot more work, and the game works better with more minds, doing the work.
But hey, if you want to thematically play as a solo, like as a lone gun solo detective, jump into it, and you're gonna have a blast. Just give it the right amount of time and know that you're in for some paperwork, and you're gonna be clocking in some overtime.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to be doing some overtime, some extra work. This is a question that I saw earlier. Any news on the bonus for those people who've already played the print and play of Natural Causes? Ignacy mentioned that during I believe the intro, that people who had already played Natural Causes would be getting some kind of a bonus.
I've had that question presented to me before. I don't know the answer to that. That's Ignacy knows best. I'm assuming it's the book, that if you pre-order, you get the design journals, because that's only going to be available for people who pre-order through our website exclusively, which are typically the people who are tapped into our information streams, who have played Natural Causes. That's not going to really be available as a free item after that. But he hasn't told me if there's any other plans, but I would assume at this point that that's what he was talking about. So Ignacy knows best. Yes, so that's what I assume it is. We've got 3 minutes here, guys. Man, I could talk about Detective, and I can talk about all these products for another 2 hours. There's so much to talk about here, and I'm guessing we're going to have to switch over to the Twitch stream after the con, and then maybe we'll elaborate a little bit more. But we've got Vienna Connection coming up as the next big expansion to Detective. It is a Cold War era detective game. Again, new themes to keep you guys on your toes. Fantastic storyline from our design team. There's just so much you can expect coming. It was scheduled to release at the end of this year. Obviously, a lot of things changed this year. Things were thrown into a little bit chaos in the industry as a whole. So our plans did change. But that is still coming down the line. We're just going to keep going with Detective. It is a line that is already shown to be one of the key pillars of Portal Games, and we want to keep supporting it and expanding it and learning how to do it better and better. We also are going to have the base game come out as the Game of the Year edition. So our next reprint will be a Game of the Year edition. All of you who have played it, you already played the game. Those of you who haven't, if you see the games going out of stock soon, don't worry. It's because we're bringing in the next print run, because this game is selling extremely well. And the Game of the Year edition will have all the awards on it, some unique artwork, things like that. So to get all the cases, I need 3 boxes.
Season 2? I think that's obviously a yes.
Yeah. We want to keep going with it. We're going to keep presenting more cases. So to get, you need the base game, and then you can get Suburbia to play for free as a warm-up, or you can use that to kind of play with your friend group, just to get everyone in the know. And again, if you lose a case, play again. It's still fun. If you've played the game, play with another group as the game master. And that's so much fun just to watch people what decisions they make when you know actually what's going on behind the scenes. You get LA Crimes, play through those 3, and then you can download Under the Radar. You can play that. Then you have Dig Deeper. That's going to get you the Rob Davio case, slightly different take on the design. So basically, that's what you need right there. You've got a lot of content. Season 1 will be coming out in September. You've got 3 new cases, which is Natural Causes, Blood, Ink, and Tears, and Solid Alibi, which was my alibi for Dice Tower Con. Sticking to it. And all the 6 volunteers that were with me are under non-disclosure agreements. They can't say that I was taking a nap or something.
Anything else?
Yeah. So a lot of stuff. I'm looking for David really quick. If there's anything I missed in the chat, I'm looking at my notes here. We have another event coming up, so I'm making sure that I don't eat into that time too much. Anything in the chat? Thank you guys for sticking for this fast, wild adventure of detective.
Since we are actively preparing for the next event, I don't have the chat right in front of me.
Gotcha.
At the moment, but,
because you guys are doing the next event.
Yes, just keep them coming. You can get the Suburbia scenario physically too. Yes, you can get the Suburbia scenario physically too. That's the case on Tabletopia, absolutely. And everyone's saying thanks, and it was a good overview.
Thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed seeing my pictures and getting the kind of behind the scene on my side. Again, I could not be more excited about this line of products. I am so thrilled that Portal Games was the one who was able to bring this to you. I didn't even get to talk about the Spiel des Jahres nomination. I didn't even get to talk about Design Diaries. Pre-order Season 1, get the Design Diaries, learn all the other stuff, and then follow us on Twitch so that when we go on there, you can make a demand, say, Luke, get on there and tell us more about this or that. I'm going to have a weekly show on there, so we'll be able to touch base on there, and you can ask me questions then. I'm Luke from Portal Games US. That's David from Portal Games US. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for participating. Give us some thumbs up, interact with us on Discord, and then we've got more content coming right up, and I'm going to stop streaming so they can actually get ready and I don't get in trouble. So thanks again so much, guys. We'll see you around.